I started playing like like 2 Christmases ago, because that's when I got my PlayStation, like two years ago on Christmas. And then I downloaded Fortnite that same day. And I was just on the game like all day, basically just playing, go to sleep, wake up, start playing again. And originally the PlayStation wasn't even going to be mine. It was like for the house, but nah, I just took it in my room, and ever since then it's been there to this day.
How do you feel when you heard that your brother had been shot?
I just wanted to know what happened. Like, first of all, I wanted to know. The first question that was on my mind, like, why did he get shot? I know my brother not into nothing like, as you know what I'm saying, nothing that's crazy, no street stuff, no none of that.
I was out with my friends in Brooklyn. I got shot, and I waited till I got to Staten Island to go to the hospital because I didn't want to get in trouble for being in Brooklyn. So, yeah, I waited. My friends drove me to Staten Island.
That's how you know your mama don't play, when you get shot. And you don't even want to tell her you're shot.
I waited.
That whipping gonna be...
Yeah. It didn't really like faze me. Like, I wasn't really emotionally scarred or like traumatized, scared to be outside and stuff. It's like, you know, it was nothing really out of the ordinary for me. It's not like I was like scared or nothing. It's like, you know, you grow up in certain places, you get used to certain things and stuff like that.
No, she's Secretary Davis, but I don't know
But
if
she's in today.
yet. Yeah,
Okay.
she's in today.
What you see in red are our shooting homicides, meaning, you know, those people passed away from their injuries. So when I got here last year, I mean, it just erupted. I mean, it just erupted. And, you know, 17 years in the NYPD, I had, you know, never seen anything like that. There were shootings where the cops are, you know, standing right there.
In 2020, the number of shooting incidents in New York City doubled, and homicides increased by 44%. Single-year increases like these had not been seen for decades. After 30 years of decline, violent crime was increasing again. Every gunshot has a destructive effect, and we can't afford to leave the causes of a surge of this magnitude to mystery. So what happened? It makes sense to first ask the organization most credited for the 30-year-long decline. Can you start off by telling us your name and position, please?
Sure, I'm Dermot Shea, the 44th Police Commissioner of the City of New York. The biggest event was a budget session in Albany in 2019 that included a series of criminal justice reforms. Should a person be kept in jail because of the size of their checkbook? The answer is no.
Nearly 38,000 people are sent to Rikers every year because they cannot afford bail.
Bail is used as a mechanism for leverage, and oftentimes it's used to induce a guilty plea.
And this body will not yield. We have not yielded, and we will never yield. I vote aye, Mr. President. Criminal justice reform has been done.
The spirit of the law, 100% we agree with. We even went so far as to say there shouldn't be cash bail, eliminate it. Where we differed significantly is the piece about taking discretion away from judges.
Ayes 39, nays 23.
The bill is passed.
The bail reforms introduced in the New York State budget in 2019 and enacted January 1st, 2020, abolished cash bail for most misdemeanor and nonviolent felony charges, taking away the ability of New York State judges to impose bail on such defendants, even if they are deemed a possible threat to public safety.
With the impending introduction of the bail reform January 1st of 2020, we started to hear from prosecutors and defense attorneys alike, the person that's in jail now, had he or she been arrested next month, they wouldn't have been able to be held. There started to be downward pressure to let people out of jail.
In response to the reforms, New York City jail populations decreased significantly. People committing minor crimes were no longer being held in jails like Rikers Island before trial.
I think it was reckless. You know, when you start talking about everyone in Rikers Island is in there for stealing a loaf of bread, I'm sorry. you do not know what you're talking about or you're lying.
Commissioner Shea's logic is simple. With more offenders on the street instead of in jail, violent crime was bound to go up.
We're gonna have more crime. That's a fact. Mark my words. Let's come back in a year or 2 years. Find out. We're gonna have more crime. That doesn't make New York better.
But there's a problem with this argument. The surge we're talking about wasn't just limited to New York. It was happening around the country, in states like Iowa, Tennessee, and Indiana, none of which introduced progressive bail reform laws. Something else was going on, something wide-reaching and society-changing.
So, the pandemic came. We met with the mayor and the commissioner, and we told them there was going to be a spike. You're in the middle of losing your loved one. You're losing your job. You can't go outside. You're on top of people, 5, 6, 7 in an apartment that you're not made to stay in all day together. It's just not made for that.
Guess what's gonna happen, right? I'm gonna go and make some moves, do some things in any which way I can to make a better living and get the hell out of there and move someplace better and have food. In our borough, in the Boogie Down, pretty much everyone knows that we're the poorest in the nation. So that misery was already there.
To make matters worse, New York City was already confronting a systemic problem that has enabled violence for years.
Something happened recently where there's just been a plethora of guns that were distributed, within certain communities, and that has led to the uptick in violence.
In the midst of COVID lockdowns and a bitter presidential election, there was a 65% increase in gun sales in 2020. Despite some of the most restrictive gun laws in the nation, it is still easy to acquire a gun in New York City. They can be bought illegally for as little as a few $100s.
Stopping the flow of guns is incredibly difficult. That's the truth. You can set up checkpoints and you can do elaborate investigations and gang takedowns, and we do all that, and it has an impact, but it is way too little compared to the bigger problem. We can't kid ourselves. The absence of workable federal laws is fundamentally undermining our ability to stop guns from coming in.
Nothing right now?
Yeah, we in Stapleton. That's where I'm from. That's where I wasn't born out here in Staten Island, but like this is my neighborhood. I'm jacking it.
It just affected a lot of people in different ways. I would say some people financially, and other people's just like family-wise.
I lost 2 family members to COVID and a bunch of people that I know, friends, right? And I feel just like you. It's like the Holy Ghost in church. It always goes right past me.
You wasn't in the house too long because we was always knocking on your door. Yo, we outside. It don't matter about COVID. Like, it really don't. Every day outside, it don't matter. Like, your mom said don't come outside, sneak out the back. We out of here.
That's
like,
a fact.
For real.
You could start problems. It really did, honestly. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I would say the people that was really trying to protect their families and do what they had to do was staying inside. And the people that was like us really didn't care. So they like, oh, we got beef with him down the block. He outside right now, we going down the block. It's only him and us. You know what I'm saying?
The same communities that were the hardest hit with deaths, with joblessness, were also the same communities where the violence jumped up.
This connection between COVID and rising violence is indicative of a deeper problem. It shows that violence cannot necessarily be kept at bay by traditional policing methods, which often aim to remove violent individuals from society after they have committed a crime. Sometimes there are shocks to the system that make people more violent. As the pandemic raged on through the rest of 2020 and into the next year, this violence showed no signs of abating, a phenomenon that shaped the 2021 mayoral election. Eric Adams, a former police captain who promised a tough-on-crime approach, won.
More progressive, as we would call it, candidates did not come up with a balance. So they were right to raise questions of policing. We're in the era of George Floyd, but at the same time, you did not deal with gun violence. So what happens is an ex-policeman wins.
The NYPD get a lot of credit for reducing crime after 1990. But the methods the police use to reduce crime, but one said to be predictive instead of responsive, have for the most part been deterrence. Broken windows policing deters people from committing violent crime by demonstrating that consequences for all crimes, even minor ones, are strictly enforced. CompStat, which allowed police to see down to the block where the most crimes were taking place, allowed police to deter crime by deploying more units to those areas. But the problem with deterrence is that if a citizen feels enough desperation, or if the fabric of their community tears enough, the person will still commit the crime. The pandemic, a large enough tear, showed this to be true. There is more skepticism towards policing than ever before. The George Floyd protests brought the nation to the streets. Even Eric Adams, the former cop, has questions about the role of police in our society.
We've never, as a city or country, defined what public safety is. In our minds and in this country, public safety is call the police. Instead of looking at what's the ecosystem, mental health professionals, crisis management teams, youth organization, clergy.
One of his main opponents in the mayoral election, Maya Wiley, agrees.
5% of calls, 911 calls to police departments across the country were for violent crimes in progress. 5%. Police officers are called to be social workers. Police officers are called to be mental health counselors. Police officers are called to address homelessness. All these things that don't require a police officer.
As long as violence remains high, the city will be in need of creative solutions. A public safety experiment in Brownsville, Brooklyn might show a way forward.
I don't deserve the applause you do. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for the work that you do day in and day out. Thank you for participating in the Brownsville Safety Alliance.
Can you talk a little bit about the police pullbacks that you've organized? So you've done 5?
Yes, we've done 5 police pullbacks. I think that's a misconception. It's a public safety strategy. So we've done 5. It's called the Brownsville Safety Alliance. It's the community as a whole. And us as the NYPD, we are part of the community, but there's also other organizations that contribute to public safety as well. And we want to partner with them and reaching out to people and trying to undo the underlying issues that cause crime.
There are some people who may commit a crime, and us as a police department, we're going to do our best to keep you safe. But then there's other kinds of crime where no matter how many arrests we make, no matter how much enforcement we do, the situation, the conditions still exist.
And what I did was I moved my resources, my officers, who were like 24/7 foot post in a crime-ridden, needy area, and replaced my officers with the community and community-based organizations, the CMS organizations, the crisis management system.
What other precinct commander will allow us to take the lead where there may be violence, there may be some type of violent act occur? What precinct commander will listen to you, respect you, and say, okay, we're here just in case you need us, you take the lead? And he allowed us to take the lead on the first BSA, and there was not one incident. So for 5 days, from 12 to 12, not one incident in a very high and volatile, quote unquote, volatile community, not one incident. That was historical. And we're going to continue to do that. And the next one is going to be better.
Over 5 periods, Terrell Anderson, the commander of the 73rd Precinct and a Brownsville native, removed NYPD officers from their visible posts in a small experiment zone. They were replaced with community organizations and violence interrupters, who offered resources and a chance for community-led conflict mediation. In the first 2 periods, the number of emergency calls fell by half when compared to similar periods in previous years.
And to the inspector, I want to thank you, bro. Because you helped somebody take some of the knees out our backs. and gave some dudes like me an opportunity to be able to walk around and say, I'm a leader, I'm a stakeholder. And yeah, y'all doing a lot, but we just gotta do a little more.
I think going ahead, it's common sense, to work and to listen and to hear what the people who we serve want within their communities. We can't take the approach that we are the end-all be-all, or that we know what the people want. What I say is the 73rd precinct, legends have came out of this precinct. A lot of great work has been done by a lot of officers over the years. But why is Brownsville still so violent? Why is there still so much poverty?
These questions are ones that community-based violence prevention organizations, such as the ones which partnered with Inspector Anderson during the Brownsville Safety Alliances, hope to answer and then address. Many of them are organized under New York's crisis management system, headed by Eric Cumberbatch.
We were targeting probably about 15 neighborhoods that accounted for 50% of New York City's gun violence. And what we wanted to do was something other than traditional policing, prosecution, and incarceration in these neighborhoods. The proactive approach is to engage with the population before they ever have anything to do with a violent crime or gun violence in particular. And if and when you do encounter individuals that are vulnerable to that at that moment, to step in and intervene, mediate, bring resources to people.
This is preventative action that is different from deterrence. CMS aims to identify the causes of violence and address them before violence occurs. They do this through their network of violence interrupter organizations. Violence interrupters are street outreach workers who provide mental health, mediation, and job services to at-risk individuals. After Jaheim was shot in July 2020, Malcolm, a violence interrupter from the organization True to Life Staten Island, met with him and began to mentor him.
He paid a couple visits after I got out the hospital to my house and stuff, and I got to know him. And then when I really started getting into him, it's he would come pick me up from my house sometimes, take me out, talk to me, just make sure I was doing good, keeping up with me and stuff like that. And then he hit me up for a summer job. And yeah, it was easy money, so it was just all right. Yeah, he just helped us get money, man. So it was he was cool for that. And
let's recruit them, let's bring them on board, and let's work with them by giving them employment opportunities and ensure that they're around quality individuals that could really be guides and shepherds in their lives.
These individuals were often either victims or perpetrators of crime in the past. In almost all cases, they grew up in the same community in which they now work. This makes them credible messengers, allowing them to much better engage with segments of the community than the police.
First bit, when I went upstate, my best friend got killed, and his name was Sandy Brock. And 4 or 5 years later, I go to prison, and my other best friend gets killed. And it was just like a eye-opener to me. And being 30-something years old in prison, I was looking at it like my life has to mean more than this, right? And I still have a chance to do something when I get out of here. So that's what brought me to the Central Family Life Center, because I just wanted a job and I wanted to be doing community work. I knew I just wanted to work in my community. And coming from prison, I was willing to work for free just to show my worth.
A study undertaken by John Jay College shows that violence interrupters reduce gun violence in their impact zones when compared with sites in similar neighborhoods. Every one of the CMS organizations we interviewed saw significant reductions in violent incidents before the pandemic. Again, this isn't prevention through deterrence, but prevention through direct involvement and investment in people and communities in an attempt to identify and then stop the conditions that lead people to commit violence.
If we don't recognize that there are human conditions that can increase or decrease violent crime, we're only going to try to police the problem into prison rather than prevent the problem in the first place. And I'd rather have the death I prevented than the death I prosecute.
The data shows that these organizations do prevent violence and death, yet their results can sometimes be hard to see immediately. But gun violence remained high in 2021, and people want tangible results now.
You can't do prevention as bullets are flying over your head either in a battlefield. We had a police officer shot last night, the 8th this year, on top of 7 last year. When shootings go up, we establish what's going on, why, who's shooting at each other, what's the motive, and we put a plan together to attack it and neutralize it. And by neutralize, I mean build a prosecutable case, not 100 people. Can we do a case on 8 people and get them out of there? We take those 8 people off the street, and then you wait. And you can hear birds chirping. And you look at that map the next 3 weeks, and it is like night and day. Less shots fired, kids coming out into the street. And why did it drop so much? That case. I can point that to you and hold it in my hand and give it to you.
But if there's at all a chance to prevent individuals from committing violence and to prevent incarceration, it's a chance worth taking.
Where you go to high school?
Mount Loretto.
What's that like? Do you like it?
No, that's literally the worst school in Staten Island.
What's bad about it?
As soon as you come in, metal detectors, you can't get your phone all day.
Did they put the metal detectors in because someone brought a gun in or something? What happened?
It's just like, it's always been like that. I would say that's the place, that's the school, shall I say, to show you where you're going to end up if you don't chill out.
Jaheim got shot just being with like 15 kids in Brooklyn, and somebody started shooting at them, and by chance he got hit. I kind of feel like from the beginning he was pushing me to his brother. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm good. My brother really needs this.
Marley got something.
Wait first.
Back in the studio, we back again. Do it with my clan, freestyle, we do it again. When we in the studio, you know we making hits. And we gon' put it out, one day we gon' get rich. Yo, Marley, where you at? Yo, Marley, where you at? Where you at? Nowhere to be found, nowhere to be found. Another
Island on the scene, any team, any team, yellow team, they spell out caution, all black fit, and it's a sign of caution. If I spend these courses, on the scene, we gon' know this.
You know, we need more positive energy, and True to Life just doing that, you know? And on top of that, I would say for me, it impacted me because when I first met them, I was, you know what I'm saying, I would say I wasn't on such a good road. I wasn't as, like, as positive as I am now, you know? But I just feel like they made me feel a little more grateful and stuff for what I got, like where I'm going to. You know, they set me on a better path.
What do you think would have happened if you hadn't met them?
Honestly, I feel like if I wouldn't have met them, like right now, I would probably be outside on the block or something, like being with one of them people. I ain't even gonna lie.
So which approach is correct? Brownsville showed that when police partner with organizations from the community that invest in the community, there can be immediate and tangible results, even during one of the most challenging periods in recent memory.
This right here, I've never seen this type of partnership and community success together in many years.
Violence interrupter programs in New York have seen a significant increase in funding in recent years. More areas for programs like the Brownsville Safety Alliance are being identified, and hopefully similar sites will begin to see similar results soon. But as we wait, the violence continues.
None of the victims who were shot sustained life-threatening injuries, but the manhunt continues this morning for that suspect. Sheer terror Tuesday morning on New York's subway system.
There's an awful lot of violence right now. If we pull the police out of an area and put extra crisis management in an area, is it going to solve the problem? Or should we do a solid case on the individuals that we know? Or is it both? That's an open question for you.
We have seen an alarming rise in gun violence that has shocked our entire city. But my fellow New Yorkers, we are going to do a lot more than pray. We're going to turn our pain into purpose. We're going to unite and take action. I don't care if it's by a police officer in a blue uniform or a gangbanger in blue jeans. People should not have to experience violence. That is what public safety is about. And being inclusive and not exclusive is going to allow us to create the environment where police will play a lesser role and communities will play a greater role.
Yeah, after high school, I'll probably, if I don't have a job by the time I graduate, I'll probably get a job and work there for a little bit, get my money up and stuff like that, and then go to culinary school or art school, because I don't have any artistic skill at all, like when it comes to drawing and stuff, but I wanted to learn how to draw, so like draw, paint, just in general, just like, you know.
What's your favorite place in this neighborhood?
My favorite place in this neighborhood?
Yeah.
I don't know if it counts, but there's this dog park on Van Duzer, right? And basically, you have to hike up this big hill. It's like mad big. You have to hike up OD too. But like, once you hike up, you take this right, and then you go, and then it shows the whole view of everything over here. It shows you the neighborhood and past the neighborhood. Like, it shows you across the water and all that to the Verrazano. Like, I like the view, and I like that spot just because it makes me think, like, you know, it makes me look over everything like, yo, everything could really change if you really think about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially because where I come from, like, a lot of people don't want to make that type of change or that effort. But if we really do this, we really work together, we could really make this island better.